A popular topic among women is often self-care. How do we take care of ourselves? What is self-care? And what are the benefits of self-care? You may not have really thought about this, but one of the greatest benefits of self-care is that it allows us to empower other women. Welcome to the Satisfied Woman podcast. I'm your host, Alanna Kaivalya. This podcast is dedicated to helping women lean into their femininity and rediscover the power of their feminine gifts. We take a look at what it means to be a modern woman and how we can live a satisfied life on our own terms. Visit the hub at thesatisfiedwoman.com. Look, if you're a woman in the modern world, then it is very likely that you've experienced the feeling of burnout or being overwhelmed or just being drained. Whether it's being drained at the end of a day, at the end of a week, or at the end of the decade, it's likely that you've felt this. I don't know a single woman who hasn't. Part of the problem is that we, as feminine women in this modern culture, surrounded by the patriarchy, have really been fed this idea that we're supposed to give ourselves away, that our only value is in giving ourselves away, of what we can do for others, that we're supposed to be, quote, selfless, literally giving ourselves away, lessening ourselves in favor of those around us, particularly in favor of the masculine. Now, this has been a story told to us for a very long time, and it is not a true story. It is a terrible story, and what it does is it causes the feminine woman to constantly feel drained, to constantly feel ravaged, as opposed to feeling ravished. Now, as feminine women, we desire to be ravished, to be in the throes of pleasure, to feel completely fed, supported, and at ease in our environment, to feel the feelings of joy and delight, the ability to run pleasure through our bodies so that others can feel it too. All of that is the province of the feminine. This idea that we're supposed to give ourselves away, that we're supposed to mitigate ourselves, minimize ourselves, be subservient to the masculine around us, has served the patriarchy very well. It's kept us small, it's kept us meek, and it's told us that we just need to keep working, and be all things to all people at all times. We'd better not ask about it. We better not try to outsource some of these things. Otherwise, we look worthless or we look useless. In fact, why would we be useful to anyone if we're not constantly bending over backwards to get their needs met while subjugating our own? Now, this is not a helpful story. It's not a healthy story for the masculine or the feminine. The feminine woman is not here to be drained, and we're not here to give ourselves away. Worse of all, we're not here to have whatever our essence or energy is taken from us. We're not here to have our skills, our gifts taken from us without permission. In this day and age, we talk a lot about consent. And we talk a lot about physical consent in terms of interpersonal relationship, but we don't talk a lot about energetic consent or emotional consent or psychological consent. We're inbuilt to say yes to things we don't want to say yes to. That is without our consent. We're trained that our emotions are not worthy of being expressive. That means there's no consent to just be who we are. I want us all to be exactly who we are at exactly the time we're feeling whatever it is we're feeling. The privilege of a lifetime is to be who we are. And we can't be who we are if what we are is continuously being taken from us, being drained. Now, I like to think of the feminine woman, and really femininity itself, as a well. And a well is something that is tended to by the community around it. All of the community needs that well. Slaking our thirst as humans is critical. It's essential. We don't get water, we die. Simple equation. So communities are built around a well where everyone in that community thrives because they are able to satiate their thirst. And communities develop around that well to protect it. They don't want anybody else getting the well. They don't want the well contaminated. They keep the well tidy, clean. They make sure that all of the bricks around the well are in their proper position. They're very invested in the health of the well. And the well itself can't run dry. It can't be drained more than it is allowed to be replenished. Now, that well can be replenished from the outside by the care that is taken of it, but it can also be replenished from the inside by giving it time to draw from that deep internal spring that feeds it. So this well has both an external and internal balance to keep itself replenished and full. And we as women are the same. Our internal well is our feminine essence. Nothing is more important to us than our feminine essence. It's what feeds our creativity. It's what allows for us to create something out of almost nothing. It's the source of our joy, the source of our delight. It's the source of our intuition, our emotions, of everything that makes us feminine women. And that watery well, as it is replenished, makes us feel powerful. It makes us feel abundant, and it makes us feel free. So it's not optional. It's critical for us to tap into it, and it's critical that it's not drained faster than it's replenished. So we need to really be careful about what drains us. People may drain us. Circumstances may drain us. Places may drain us. And so it's time for us to really curate our efforts, energy, our surroundings to make sure that we're doing our best to not be drained. Now, this might mean quitting a certain social setting that just drains you. It might mean limiting contact with family members or peers or friends that just drain you. You know what I'm talking about. Going to that dinner and 2 hours later you feel just absolutely exhausted. That's not a dinner you need to go to again. It is okay to fire your friends. It is okay to push pause on relationships that drain you. It's okay to curate or limit or set boundaries around interactions that don't allow you to keep your well full. That is self-care. Self-care happens both externally in making sure that we very carefully curate our environment, and it happens internally by participating in the things that nourish us most. Now, forget about all of those old, tired lists of things that women should do. Women should be baking in the kitchen. They should be dressing pretty. They should be out shopping. They should be whatever it is that they've told us throughout our lifetime that are women's work. No, forget it. The patriarchy probably decided that. I didn't decide that. I don't know a woman ever who said women can only do this and not that. I was definitely raised, and perhaps you were too, that women can do everything. They can do anything they want, and that is true. The more important question is, do they want to do everything? Do they want to do anything? What do they want? Because this idea that we should do everything is part of what additionally drains us. We don't have to do everything. We can. We can do anything, but can we just stick to doing the things that truly make us feel connected to our feminine essence? And that's not about what we're doing. That's about how we're doing it. So we can be in our feminine essence changing the oil on a Saturday. We can be in our feminine essence driving the race car around the racetrack. We can be in our feminine essence as we're rooting for our favorite team on Sunday. It's not what we do, it's how we do it. We are going to do it propelled by our emotions and our intuitions and our sense of joy, delight, creativity. If something brings us to a state of delight, delight is a very feminine feeling. If we feel a state of delight, we know that we've hit on self-care gold. Self-care means anything that helps to replenish our well. So again, don't limit yourself. Look, I know that it is very common for women to engage in self-care, and that usually looks like a candle lit around a full bathtub with bubbles, or a date with girlfriends to a manicure pedicure appointment. But it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to. I don't want you to think that self-care is just those girly things that our culture and society have decided is self-care. I want you to understand that it's personal to you, and that it's what helps you feel your well, and it's going to start with a feeling of delight. Okay, if you feel that, you know you're in the right place. And you're going to foster it when you follow the emotions that come with it. If it's something that really lights you up from the inside, you feel, wow, you feel so good when you're engaging in it, or when you've completed it. Like, for example, maybe the creation of something can be daunting, but you get through it because of the incredible goodness you feel at the end. I think about, the way that my grandmother used to knit. Right? Now, I know that that's sort of a cliched feminine activity, but she loved her knitting. To this day, and she passed away some years ago, to this day I have boxes of sweaters and scarves and hats that she knitted me because she just couldn't stop. Because even though she couldn't really see anymore, she had cataracts, and the needles often poked her fingers, and she had arthritis in her hands. Okay, so there was pain while she was knitting, and she couldn't really see. She was excited to get through the project because she knew how delighted I would be to receive her gift. And for her, it kept me warm. And keeping her grandchild warm delighted her. It brought her joy. The act itself may have been kind of painful and a little daunting sometimes, but it brought her joy at the end. Okay, so don't think it's always going to be sparkles, rainbows, and butterflies necessarily. You might have a talent that when you get through it, or you're cursing yourself as you're trying to finish it, but the ultimate ending of that is joy, delight, abundance, all of those good feelings. So you pursue, you get through it, okay? I don't want us to think that women are just supposed to be basking, eating bonbons all day, doing the things that are never difficult. Of course, these things can be difficult. Women are capable of doing incredibly difficult things. It's the way we do it. Do we use our intuition to find the right path to the finish, as opposed to those structured plans and no deviations? Because an intuitive way of getting to the finish is the woman's way of getting to a finish, not the structured plans with no deviations. That's masculine. Do we follow our emotions when they come up? If we feel scared about something, if it suddenly doesn't feel good, do we stop? Or do we change course? Because that's a woman's way of doing things. Do we feel that sense of joy and delight at the end? That's how we'll know we're on the right track to something that is self-care. Some women are going to hate pedicures. Some women don't like getting massages. That's okay. It doesn't mean we're doing something wrong as a woman. If you're wondering and there's going to be many things for you. If you're wondering what your self-care activities or things are, start paying attention to those feelings of joy and delight. Start leaning into those, or that intuition. You know what? I had a thought about trying this the other day. You don't know why you had that thought, where that thought came from, but that thought came, and so you follow it and you try it. Another way to tap into what might be self-care for you are thinking about things that brought you joy and delight as a child. Maybe you liked playing with your brother's trucks. Maybe you enjoyed getting your hands dirty, digging in the dirt, and more than just planting flowers, like real landscaping. Maybe as a child you enjoyed coloring in all the coloring books, and so as an adult you get some coloring books and you try that again. Maybe as a child, you liked to just wander around the woods and feel the sun on your face and really be quiet and by yourself. Get back to that, because as children, we're a little less saddled with what we should be doing. We are invited to explore different things that perhaps society would say, oh no, don't do that as an adult, or that we've gotten away from as an adult. So your childhood endeavors that brought you joy are worth reconnecting with as an adult. Maybe you do them differently as an adult. I remember many years back, I was living in New York City, and there was this incredible rise in popularity of the roller derby. Now, I loved roller skating as a little girl. There were skating rinks around my house. You just go around and around in circles on your roller skates with the four wheels, two side by side, front and back. I used to love that. I had a giant pom-pom on the front of my roller skates with little googly eyes. I think I had either hot pink or hot purple skates or something like that. And I loved the limbo. They'd play that silly song and they'd make you try to skate lower and lower and lower under the pole. That was fun. And so many years back in New York City, there was this rise in popularity of the roller derby, which was adult women's opportunity to get reconnected with that super fun childhood activity of roller skating, but in this new, more adult and kind of competitive way. Roller derby can be brutal. I don't know if you've ever seen it or been to a game, but it is pretty much exclusively women, and they skate around a rink and they try to compete with each other, and sometimes they hit each other and knock each other over, and they're doing this in a feminine way. They're doing this in a way that feels good and pleasure-filled for them, that's exercising their creativity and utilizing their body. They're feeling pleasure in their body, and they're reconnecting with that childhood activity, but in a way that is self-care. And boy, watching these women walk off the rink at the end of their session, at the end of the night, just huge smiles across their face. So think outside the box. It doesn't have to be what is scripted, particularly in this day and age. Can we just let go of what society has been telling us women should be or should do and stop? We need to stop giving ourselves away. We need to prioritize what nourishes us and re-energizes our femininity, whether it is an activity, whether it is a certain space, whether it is time with friends or alone. Keeping our well filled keeps us connected to ourselves. And that's ultimately what will empower others to do the same. So if we're talking about self-care as a means of empowerment for other women, this is what we're talking about. When we feel most connected to our femininity, others will respond to that. They will see that. They will be inspired by that. Don't forget, one of the feminine's greatest qualities is connection, community, collaboration. So we likely won't have self-care that doesn't somehow trickle out to others. Even if our self-care is walking through the woods by ourselves, we'll go home, we'll be in the room with our family, and our family will go, wow, you need to take a walk every day. So our alone self-care makes our family feel good, and they continue to encourage it in us. Or it might be participating in an event with others where they see how much joy it brings us. We might bring joy into an event that otherwise doesn't necessarily please others, but it does because it brings us so much joy. When we are fully connected to our feminine essence, we are then powered and empowered to do the same for our fellow women. It gives us the energy we need to start this movement of helping other women become more satisfied with their lives, recognizing that they can say no to what drains them. When women feel drained, they are not being valued. And when we're not valued, we are not connected to our feminine essence. Everything of value costs something. No one should be allowed to take anything from the feminine that is not freely given from her own self-effulgent well. Demands on our time, on our energy, are not okay unless we are freely ready to give of our time and our energy. When we start to set those boundaries with the things that drain us, when we curate our time, whether it comes to people, places, endeavors, whatever it is, we will demonstrate for other women that is the path to satisfaction. It's not up to us to be all things for all people at all times. It's not up to us to say yes to all the demands that are placed on us. In fact, it's incredibly important to say no, to stop. It is not feminine to give ourselves away. It is not feminine to be ravaged. We want to be ravished. We want to be full from the inside out. So whether that's carefully curating the community that comes to be re-energized from our well, or doing the things that energize us and keep our well full, that is self-care. And when we have a community around us that is nourished by our well, that's empowering to that community. And the women in that community will respond to it. They will be inspired by it. So this is the definition of self-care, taking care of your feminine essence, making sure that your well is so full that you're not just a well, that you are an oasis. An oasis comes from the Greek and Egyptian root, which means dwelling place, where all those around you and you can rest confidently in your feminine power. And this, my friends, is the way of the satisfied woman. And if you want to know more about how to walk the way of the satisfied woman, please visit my website, thesatisfiedwoman.com. Or you can order my book anywhere books are sold, and it's called The Way of the Satisfied Woman. I have many resources for you, and I hope in one way or another you become a part of this incredible community. And until then, I hope you find your way as the satisfied woman.